the equation E is equal mc squared, in which energy is put equal to mass multiplied with the square of the velocity of light, showed that very small amount of mass may be converted into a very large amount of energy, and vice versa. The mass and energy were in fact equivalent, according to the formula mentioned above. This was demonstrated by Procras and Walton in 1932 experimentally.
You've got it right here. S4 with E squared in conjunction with Spaced Out Radio.
Alien contact. S4. UFOs. Bigfoot. 9/11. Grays. The Illuminati. Cover-ups. RH negative blood. What are they hiding from
Sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed.
Now, the men behind the mics, Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper and the SOR Spacewire's Eric Markham. You can find more at spacedoutradio.com.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Now, let's travel into the universe. It's S4 with E squared.
Myself, Eric Cooper with Forest Moon Paranormal, and Eric Markham is on tonight with from the Spaced Out Radio Wire, Newswire. All right, you here with us, Markham?
Yes, I am.
All right, outstanding. We're going to have a hot show tonight. We are going to discuss candidates, only the main ones, briefly, later on. But, you know, I'm pissed the hell off. I really am, over this whole Standing Rock issue. My contact that's actually in Standing Rock is not going to be with us tonight. He's actually on a mission tonight, and we won't go into that. But he will get with us one of these maybe next week, or I'll do a pre-record with him on what he sees going on, and we'll record him that way. But I've got some interesting stuff, and I got to give a shout out to the Avengers. Oh my God, I was so happy. It just hit the news, I believe, today that Samuel Jackson, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth have all stood up and are standing behind Standing Rock. So we've got the Avengers themselves standing behind Standing Rock. That kicks ass. What do you think, Markham?
Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty cool.
I actually have
I've been reading a lot about the Standing Rock. Go ahead.
I actually have a list of actors. There's not, I didn't recognize a lot of them. So I know Susan Sarandon is behind it. DiCaprio is behind it. And actually, DiCaprio, when they actually marched with the Native Americans from North Dakota to Washington, D.C., I actually submitted my letter to the White House this morning. If you go on either my page on Facebook or on Forest Moon Paranormal, I believe you can find the link there as well. I encourage everybody listening to let your voice be heard at DC. Tell Obama until he relinquishes his authority in January. Tell Obama that he needs to step up and tell these corporation assholes that they need to stop destroying this planet. You know, Native Americans aside, it's destroying the water, and if you look at the bigger picture, it's destroying the soil for planting. It's destroying a lot more than just water resources. And actually, real quick, I've got to throw out that the views and opinions of S4D Squared do not reflect that of Spaced Out Radio. Spaced Out Radio being our umbrella. We go a little bit out into the darker side of the paranormal and conspiracy. Politics, to me, is very much conspiracy because we are so blinded, and so this country is so damn corrupt. It's run by corporates, bureaucrats, and ugly-ass politicians. That's it, cut and dried. And good luck on Tuesday night when you go vote, because there's not much to vote for. I don't really give a damn if you like Trump.
Nope.
I hate him. I despise him. He's a rich billionaire piece of shit. Hillary is no better. She's a bitch, a criminal. I'm not even going to go into the conspiracy crap with them because there's so much crap flying around right now about both of them. I don't believe any of it. Neither one of them should be president. My vote goes to Jill Stein. And
No.
That's just where I stand on that. You don't talk me away from that. And I know it's a throwaway vote. Honestly, I don't think it is. I think the more people get tired of the bullshit and, don't throw their... Vote for a third party. Let these assholes know we're not going to sit there and play their games no more. The more people stand up, and yeah, I'm fired up tonight. I'm pissed off. I'm beyond pissed off. I've been building up this way for a while. Anyway, so how's work going, Markham?
It's a little busy tonight, but that's the beauty of a Bluetooth headset. I can wander around, do my job, and still keep up with what's going on.
So tell us what you think. What's your opinion and what's going on with Standing Rock?
Okay, I've been looking into it for the last few hours. Well, actually, concentrating on it the last few hours. I was looking into it before, in preparation for this show, and there is as many. Even on CNN, you got 3 views. There's a local mayor of a small town who is PO'd that this is going on and screwing up his town. There's other people that just don't give a crap, and then there's the ones that what I do find suspicious is that there's a lot more. It seems that in this one report, there's a lot more non-native protesters than there are native protesters. It's almost like it's almost like one of those Black Lives Matter or one of the other, Occupy Wall Street, something like that. There's a bunch of people involved that I'm not necessarily sure they're there with the Sioux people in, their best interest at heart.
Well,
trying to find that. I had that guy pulled up.
I'm going to say this. I believe in the whole Blue Lives Matter. I support law enforcement. What I see at Standing Rock is not law enforcement. Those are a bunch of mercenaries. I've got a gun.
Who are these guys?
I've got a gun and a badge, and I'm sworn to my policeman's oath, and I'm a sheriff, and I'm a. You're not. You're not. You're standing up for corporation billionaires. You are not for the people. That is not a for the people movement. That is not. You're standing up for, and I'm going to go into this real quick. The asshole behind the whole pipeline.
Okay.
His name is Kelcy Warren. He's a billionaire from Texas. And we're going to go into this real quick. So the Dakota Access Pipeline is what this is called. And it's to carry crude oil from Bakken oil fields in Illinois, where it would be meeting an existing pipeline that would transport the oil to Texas. Who does that benefit? It benefits one shithead, one guy, who's already a billionaire, but he wants to make more billions. And he's a major Republican political donor. He's the chair of Energy Transfer Equity of Dallas, a company that's number 65 on this year's Fortune 500 list. There's the guy that's pushing it all. So, he's a native of East Texas, a graduate of the University of Texas at Arlington, with a degree in civil engineering. He worked in the natural gas industry and became co-chair of Energy Transfer Equity in 2007 with business partner Ray Davis. If you want to go mess with somebody, look him up on Facebook. Already done that.
Yeah.
So Ray Davis is also co-owner of the Texas Rangers baseball team. There's where your money's going. And, you know, I heard from another source that they rerouted it. The original pipeline was going to go to, it was going to go through, I believe, a town near D.C. And oh my God, it might contaminate the capital's water, so we can't do it there because, you know, that's the capital water system. So we're just going to run it through the Native American lands and contaminate their water because, well, you know, they're just Native Americans. So that's what it boils down to. You know, they don't really give a shit about the middle class or the lower class. But, oh, we can't let the water, the oil wells, the oil pipeline go through, you know, a major 1% area because, oh my God, it might contaminate their water. You know what? Screw them all. That's what I say about that. Yeah. So there's the guy behind you, behind it all, and you know he's paying off all these people that think they're cops, and they're not. They're nothing more than paid mercenaries, and they should have their badges taken away. In fact, I just heard, like 20 minutes ago, that 27 law enforcement officers have put their badges down and said, we ain't doing this no more. Screw this. They're starting to get the big picture, maybe. Some of them. Now, let's see if the rest of them do it. Because the ones that stand fast and keep their badge and keep on, you know, shooting natives and protesters for no reason that are unarmed. And the other picture that really pissed me off was and I'd like to find her, and I'd like to have her on the show, but there's a native woman that was in the river, and she was pulling logs to block the National Guard boats from coming up the river. And while she's tying these logs off, there's this asshole with a fire extinguisher-sized pepper spray container. He sprayed her. I don't have my facts in front of me, but he sprayed her like 5 or 6 different times. And she would wipe her eyes out real quick and keep on tying it. And then she went, you know, really? You're going to pepper spray and shoot unarmed people? Really? You're not a cop. You have no oath but your own and to the corporate assholes that are behind all this.
Well, there's some, I mean, even in the area, it's controversial because there's a district chairman of the town of Cannonball. His name is Robert Fulbear Sr., and he runs, you know, granted his town's 840 people, but that doesn't mean, you know, they don't have a right. But with the checkpoints they have to go through and the harassment they're getting from law enforcement, he's ready for it to end. And one of the things he brings up, he says that more than 2 years ago, when members of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe could have attended hearings to make their concerns known, they didn't care. Nobody bothered. It's like now, this is a direct quote. It irks me. People are here from all over the world, he says. If they could come from other planets, I think they would. And they've just become a nuisance. He's got people showing up wanting, food, free food, handouts, and everything in his town, which I imagine with a tax base of 840, he hasn't got a lot to spend on that kind of stuff. But then there's others who just really don't care. One guy says, if it leaks, I'll just go north of it to get my water. So even within the community, there's a lot of discord and a lot of disagreement as to what's going on. What I'm trying to figure out is, how did DAPL, the corporation that is behind the pipeline, they supposedly bought this land? And it doesn't seem to me that they didn't buy it. They've apparently confiscated it because it didn't belong. It was the tribe's land. So how did it get sold?
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything about anyone buying land. I haven't had a chance to dig that far into it. It has a whole lot of Harney County, Oregon, with the Bundy semblance to it.
Yeah. Well, what gets me is they've pulled these protesters who were blocking the public road. They beat them. They pulled them out. They were abusive. They pulled people out of a moving car. Just here in my own state, a couple of weeks ago, the Black Lives Matter people had a major interstate blocked off, and they were allowed to just, I'm not trying to turn this into a racial discussion, but it seems like there's a dual standard. If you're black, you can shut down a major interstate, and the authorities are behind you. If you're a Native American and you're trying to protect your own land, you get militarized mercenaries sent after you. I don't think, there's a disparity here.
Yeah, completely agree. And what pissed me off too, now my contact that's there has not seen any military involvement. Granted, he just got there yesterday. He's only seen one area, and all he sees right now is militarized law enforcement, and that's what's involved right now. I also heard there's National Guard there. Now, if these are unarmed,
and where are they coming from?
What's that? The militarized law enforcement?
Yeah, I'm trying to find sources for who these people are, and they're in militarized Humvees. They've got military grade body armor and all this. Where are they from? Are they private army? Are they a private army? The DAPL? Are they DAPL's private army masquerading as law enforcement? It just doesn't seem like this all stinks.
It does. And the vehicle that's on my personal Facebook page, that is an up-armored transport vehicle that EOD uses. We had them in Iraq. If they're law enforcement, why do they have them?
That's what I thought.
That is military grade EOD.
Well, not too long ago, and I remember this showing up in our local paper. I don't know how many years ago it was. Within the last 5 years, once we declared victory in Iraq and the stuff was being brought, some of it was being brought back, local law enforcement was given the opportunity to bid on and buy this military grade hardware for their sheriff's departments and urban crowd control and stuff like that. It was a huge debate about whether, should the cops be armed like soldiers for domestic purposes.
Yeah, and there's no reason for that. There's absolutely no reason for militarized police departments. And then they wonder why the militias rise up. Which, we wouldn't even go into militias, because I despise militias and patriot groups, too. They're nothing more than military wannabes. That if they want to be military, need to join the military. Not go out there and pretend like they're military, because, well, they're not. We need more veterans to stand up and go to Standing Rock. That's just cut and dried. And got into a discussion with somebody earlier about...
Well, they wouldn't let your friend in, would they?
Oh, he's in. But that was the Native Americans.
Oh, he's in? Okay.
That was the Native Americans that wouldn't let him into the camp because they're being real finicky about who comes in, because they don't want militia types, because they are trying to keep it peaceful. And if they have militia types come in,
right,
then you're gonna have another Bundy standoff, and that's what they don't want. They're trying to play politics as the best they can, and that's the right way to go. What needs to happen is the White House needs to get involved and say, you know what, enough of the bullshit. You're destroying land. Regardless whose it is, you're destroying land. And enough is enough. I also heard, I believe last week, that the UN was supposedly getting involved in trying to convince the government that this is not the right way to go. Now, I don't like the UN being involved either, but
no, I don't.
Someone needs to listen to reason. Because if they think the water was bad in Michigan, wait till one of these pipelines, which is inevitable, breaks.
Oh yeah, happens. Well, and it's a news item. Well, then you got your own government screwing up. There was that place in where was it? Colorado, where some Department of Natural Resources idiot pumped billions of gallons of toxic waste from an old mine holding pit into a local water supply. If your own government's going to do it and screw your water up, an oil company that doesn't give a rat's ass is going to do it too.
Yeah, because all they see is billions, which they already make billions. And that's why this country will never get away from fossil fuels. Because as long as you have bigoted corporations that are making billions, and it's all about the dollar, then, we've had so many people, so many inventors that have stood up and made water-based engines and, solar power, and you're just now seeing the hybrids making a movement.
Yeah.
But oh my God, then we'd be getting away from fuel and oil and the destructions of the planet. But no, we take money out of their pockets, so they can't let that happen. They'll actually go out and kill inventors. It's this country is in a downward spiral. It's been in a downward spiral for a long time, and I think 2017, you're going to see it come to a head. because who's going to win? I'm not even looking at Hillary. I'm looking at who her vice. Her health is so bad. My mate and I were discussing this. Her health is so bad, she's not going to make it a full term. So don't look at Hillary. Look at her running mate. And he's almost as scary.
Right.
So, talking about Hillary, have you
What
looked
I'm worried
into
about.
have you looked into Hillary's background with this supposed, and this is all allegations and hearsay, but about this pedophile ring that she's supposedly behind?
Well, that's sort of old news. She was supposed to be part of that and been out there with Bohemian Bohemian Grove, and those have been long running,
Oh, that was Bill.
long running accusations that her and Bill were into wild stuff like that.
Yeah, it's coming
Yeah,
back.
Bill.
I believe that hit the
Yeah,
news.
Bill.
I believe that hit the news last week. All of a sudden, but all it is a slander and a smear campaign between Hillary and Trump. So you don't know what to believe.
Part of what I think you could honest to God post a legit, bona fide picture of Clinton sitting at a table eating barbecued baby, and her followers are so blind and so focused on just getting the first woman elected president that it wouldn't matter. The woman can just do almost anything he wants with impunity because the media has given her a bye. I saw a somewhat critical that, why people hate Hillary Clinton, and they were kind of bringing her dirty laundry out, and I was a little surprised. It's like you don't expect CNN to. Maybe they see the writing on the wall, and they're kind of cozy up.
No, you've got the feminist side, which the only reason they're voting for Hillary is because she's a woman, and that's the wrong way to go about voting. To hell with the fact that she has 450,000 emails, and to hell with the fact that she's behind Benghazi, and to hell with the fact that she's a liar, a thief, and a very twisted individual. But she's a woman, so we're going to vote for her. Really. And so then you got the other side of it, and I hate to say it, but you got all these Bernie supporters that because they hate Clinton, they're going to vote for Trump, and that's my parents. My parents are doing that. They don't want to see Clinton get in, and the one they were going to vote for didn't make it, so they're going to vote for Trump. It's kind of like a really Trump is no better. I won't say he's worse, but he's no better. I'm not playing the establishment, and I really don't give a damn about the fear mongering and the lies that are floating around saying, well, if you vote for a third party, you're just throwing your vote to somebody. No, you're not, actually, because the more people vote for a third party, the more there's going to be a shakedown in politics, and they're going to say, oh, well, damn. Because, last statistic I saw, 41% of this country was registered as an independent. If those statistics are accurate, 41% of this country is registered as an independent. That puts the Republicans and the Democrats at a minority party, because you split that number up. And so if all those independents, the 41%, put their vote into Stein or even the Libertarian Party, Johnson, there would be, we all know it's corrupt because you got all these deceased people that are voting, and it's like, really?
Right.
No, it
They've
doesn't.
been doing that for 100 years in D.C.
Right. And I'm sorry, but if half the
Illinois, if you're not dead, you don't get to vote.
yeah, and some of these people that are dead never voted before, so all of a sudden their ghost is going to vote for Hillary. I don't think so. But let's do an accurate rundown of Hillary. So Hillary was born October 26 of 1947. She is the former United States Secretary of State, U.S. Senator, and First Lady of the United States. From 2009 to 2013, she was the 67th Secretary of State serving under Obama. We all know all that. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes here. And so, yeah, she, if you look at her background, she has a very solid political background. Getting away from the Benghazi and the emails and all the corrupt crap, she's got a good political background to be a president. Versus her opponent, who is a businessman, a failed businessman at that. Okay, so he's a billionaire. We'll give him that. But as I recall, he was born into money. He didn't earn his billions. It was handed to him. He's filed bankruptcy at least 4 times. He's been sued, taken to court at least 160 times. And this is a man that you think can balance a budget? I don't. And have you looked at his running mate?
Pence?
His running mate, yeah, is a political version of him. But, hold on, let me pull my chart up. Because I've actually got his political breakdown. So, this is a man that, and this is Trump's running mate, favors vouchers for school choice, favors the right to own guns. Okay, I can get on board with that. Opposes higher taxes on the wealthy. Huh, imagine that. He favors the support and expansion of free trade. He favors enforcement of the right to vote. He opposes green energy. That tells you where his stance is. So do you really think he's going to be in favor of Standing Rock if he opposes green energy? Because somebody posted earlier that, oh, we need to vote for Trump because Trump will take care of Standing Rock. No, he won't. He's a billionaire. If anything, he's going to be for Standing Rock. And if his opponent, or not opponent, if his running mate opposes green energy, then you know he's going to be all for the pipeline. He's not going to fix the pipeline. So he believes in a stimulus for better than market-led recovery. He favors privatizing Social Security. He favors keeping God in the public sphere. Well, that's a violation of freedom of religion. He favors no rights to clean air and water. He opposes stricter punishment, reducing crime. He opposes pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens. He favors maintaining U.S. sovereignty from the UN. He favors expansion of the military. He opposes staying out of Iran. And he favors never legalizing marijuana. So there you go. And we were just talking about this. I wouldn't put it past Trump to smoke a joint here and there. But his opponent, or his his running mate opposes marijuana. So, yeah. I don't know. So Jill Stein. Jill Stein is the Green Party 2012 candidate for president, or what was the Green Party 2012 candidate for president. She holds the current record for most votes ever received by a woman candidate for president of the United States in the general election. She's a mother, an organizer, a physician, and pioneering environmental health advocate. Now, I gotta say, I don't care for her running mate. And she's helped lead initiatives
No.
to fight environmental racism and injustice to promote healthy communities. And actually, you know, Jill Stein actually went to Standing Rock. Did Trump? I don't believe so. Did Clinton? I don't think so. Jill Stein actually went to Standing Rock and was arrested for protesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you want a presidential candidate that's going to be for the people, for the environment, knows what the hell she's talking about, and has a doctorate. Jill Stein's the one you want to get in office. And for the feminists, wow, she's a woman too. You know, I don't.
Well, I've looked at her I've got her platform up here,
Okay.
and I think my problem with her is she's talking out of both sides of her mouth. She's got
Okay.
all this feel good stuff she wants to do, but she also, and I agree with some of her jobs is a right, and I believe and I like her idea of ending this right to work crap where they can walk in, say I don't like the way you smell, leave. But there's she's not talking about how she's going to pay for all this stuff. That's the problem. I mean, she says we need this, we need that. Well, we as the American taxpayer, and we have been getting the shaft for the last 60 years, and figure out a different way to pay for this crap and let me have I had an overtime pay, as an example, I had an overtime paycheck recently. Over 1,000 of that money that I had earned and worked for disappeared in taxes and crap. It's wrong to, the more you work, the less you make.
Right.
And I see a lot of what Jill proposes is just going to make that worse. I'm tired of paying heavy taxes so some ghetto thumper can run around in a damn Escalade with 20-inch rims selling dope and running a whorehouse.
Right.
I guess it's a great gig if you can get it, but I don't feel like I necessarily want to fund that. No. I don't feel like it shouldn't be me subsidizing somebody's damn illicit lifestyle. And that goes for the politicians as well.
Well, and that's where I stand. There are too many people that abuse the system. And the only way I can think that you could get around that is if you initiated a drug test on anyone that applied for food stamps. Now, you're going to get a whole lot of hatred for doing that, but I think that'd be the only way to get around. What we need is a bump up in the mental health system, for one. More drug rehab facilities. They don't cost an arm and a leg, for two. So, I mean, because I hate hating the drug users, because not all of them can control that. They need rehab. But at the same time, they need to want rehab, because they can go to rehab 20 times. If they don't want to quit, they're not going to quit. So where do we fix that? I'm really not sure. But I think there should be the opportunity available. I know, speaking for my county, you don't see a whole lot of rehab. The jails are full. so they don't bother arresting anybody anyway because, well, the jails are full, and so you know the thieves, the tweakers, they can keep on coming out and stealing over and over again. They don't go to jail. They know they're not going to go to jail, so why do they even worry about it until they get messed in with the wrong person who's just going to shoot them. And well, there you go.
Exactly. When somebody defends their home and then that person blows the thief out the door, well, then they're going to have to bankrupt themselves and ruin their life defending the fact that, defending themselves for defending, for doing it. I mean, it's just gotten to where I feel like the inmates are running the damn show anymore.
Well,
it's just ridiculous.
I'll say this much for up here. I can guarantee if I was to shoot somebody that was coming into my house to break in, I wouldn't be in trouble. But I know that's different for every state. Some states, yeah, you don't have the right to protect yourself. Here in Washington, I mean, we have open carry. I don't have a license. I don't bother getting a license because I'm not going to take my guns to town. That's a good song, by the way. But yeah,
right.
I'm not going to take my guns to town. I don't trust myself not using them in the wrong, in the wrong context. So I won't take them. But they're here in my house if I need them. And I know damn well the sheriff up here would probably back us if we had to protect our home. So that's a state-by-state thing. When it comes to the Second Amendment, we've had this discussion before, but since we're talking politics anyway, we've had this talk. Back when the Second Amendment was written, they were using muskets. They weren't using semi-automatic weapons. And, some of these ass clowns out there, oh, I've got to have 150,000 weapons. Why? You hear these people talking about their caches they've got, and, because you never know when you're going to need them. This corrupt government's going to come and take my guns. No, they're really not. Do you really think the government's got the manpower? I mean, look, they got militarized cops right now at a protest or standoff. They're not going to come door to door to take your damn guns. And
right.
Back when the Second Amendment was written in the Constitution, they were worried about the Brits coming back in and taking over America. They weren't worried about so much a corrupt government. The government's always been corrupt from the very beginning. In fact, wasn't Abraham Lincoln that warned about the government we've got today?
Actually, Thomas Jefferson was a big proponent of the Second Amendment because he felt that the people would need, I think his quote is, the people should revolt and overthrow the government every 20 years. It clears the air.
Well, no, that goes...
He was a proponent of having a republic.
But that also goes with the Constitution. The Constitution is supposed to be
yes,
revised.
It was written about muskets.
Yeah, but the Constitution is supposed to be revised. I believe it's every 7 years. Every 7 years, it was designed as a living document. It's supposed to be looked at periodically. When's the last time we've looked at it and actually had,
right.
a convention, an actual constitutional convention where they
actually... for the last... for the last 8 years, it hasn't even mattered. It's been ignored anyway.
Right.
You don't have to look at something to use it. I believe Obama's on record as saying, and I don't know how to vet this because you can look it up and find 50 citations that say it's right and 50 citations that say it's urban. He supposedly said that the we had outgrown it. It was not a valid or a necessary document. It was just a piece of historical flotsam from our past. I'm paraphrasing, but basically it was something to wipe your butt with.
Well, yeah, and I don't agree with that by any means. That's what our country is founded on. But yeah, it's supposed to be revised.
Right.
It's supposed to be revised on as the country changes. Because the country is supposed to be growing, not turning corrupt. And let's talk about Baraka, not Obama. But Baraka is Jill Stein's running mate. He's kind of he's a radical by any means of the word. And he was born and grew up in the south side of Chicago. He served in the military. And, I'll say it that much. I like that about him. I think anybody that runs for president should have served in the military. I believe that should be a prerequisite to be a politician.
I think that ought to be mandatory. That ought to be mandatory. I think in order to run for president, you needed to have been, if you're going to be responsible for declaring war and putting troops' lives at risk, you should have been there. Yes. And I just, I don't know. I don't know what I'm sure there's unintended consequences that would arise from that, but right. I think it would cut some of this crap out. It's like, oh, you can't run because you never served. And I honestly think that we should have a system like Israel has, where they have compulsory military service for everybody, regardless of class, age, or race. Not age, but race. If you're a U.S. citizen or want to become a U.S. citizen, 2 years minimum.
Well, that's how Germany is. Germany is mandatory military.
That's how Israel is.
Right. Now, in Germany, if you do not go to the military, you have to have a medical, reason not to, or you have to be enrolled in a trade school. If you are enrolled in a trade school, then you don't have to do the military time because you have an actual occupation to fall back on, and I can get on board with that. But it is a mandatory 2 years in the shooting sneer, or in the shooting sneer is not the right word. That's an award. But in the Deutsch military, you have to have served at least 2 years. And yeah, I fully agree. I think you'd see a decrease in disrespect of our younger generations. You would see a better military, maybe. And yeah, Don, I agree. They have to be discharged honorably. If they have a dishonorable discharge, they automatically are disqualified from any kind of political office. And I believe for any political office, with the exception of maybe a mayor or something like that, but if you're Congress, House of Representatives, Senate, President, any of that, any of the higher political offices, mandatory military service. And while we're on that, Congress.
Robert Rose is saying.
Huh?
Robert's on Facebook. I guess he's having trouble finding the chat room, or he's just comfortable on YouTube, on the Facebook page. But he's saying, what about people like me who wanted to serve but couldn't due to disability? That is an excellent example. It can't be a rigid. It can't be one of those things where there's no common sense involved. Right. I mean, there's some people, and myself included, mentally I wasn't cut out for it. I tried anyway, but I wasn't very good at it. But I mean, there's got to be exemptions. There's people that aren't fit for military duty. However, I do believe that there should be a civilian, not so much a paramilitary, but a civilian. I think Kennedy had something like, that ought to be something you can do for 2 years where you serve the country, whether it's military or not. There's people who are disabled that or couldn't get in because they didn't have arches in their feet or their something. But there's something those people can do that's just as valuable, and
Well,
would
here you
be
go.
just as character building. And I
I've
think
got-
that has, it just needs to be after high school. If you don't go to college, you got to do some kind of service.
Well, here's what you do. You reformat the military. If they can't be a fighting force, then they can do a logistics job. We have military that don't need to be in the finance
True.
department. They can be out fighting. So you put the ones that aren't medically fit, you put them through basic training anyway, because basic training is only 8 weeks, and you give them leeway. So at least they've been to basic training and they've been militarized. Then you put them in an office job, personnel, finance, supply, things like that. They can still be in the military, but then we can break it down. Everybody's infantry. You have a complete fighting force, and the logistical side of the military would be all the ones that couldn't make it in. Now, getting on that topic.
Well, there's so much now that's going to civilian workers. I mean, you go to the exchanges. There's a lot of even like the people that cook. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's being farmed out to big, contract companies that are, civilians that are getting paid to do what military people used to do. So,
Right.
There's plenty of room for people. Not everybody can lift, bench press 500 pounds and run 50 miles with a 60-pound pack on their back, but there's something anybody can do within the military if we had it set up to where it wasn't a crony capitalism trick with, Halliburton and other contractors.
Okay, well, KBR and Halliburton and yeah, it was KBR. KBR. There's Brown and Root, because we have Brown and Root in Somalia. Brown and Root ran our laundry service. Now, did Dick Cheney own Brown and Root? I have no idea. I haven't looked back that far. I know he ran Halliburton, and they were making billions off us in Iraq, just off the dining facility alone. Not even counting the rest of it. Now, let's talk politicians for a minute.
Yeah, there's no reason for those jobs not to be. Okay.
So, the president can only do 4 years, unless he gets elected again and can do 8 years. We know this. What about Congress? Congress was not designed to be a damn career. Congress needs to be, I say we fire everybody in Congress, everybody in the Senate, everybody in the House of Representatives, wipe them all out, clean them all up, fire them, put normal citizens in their job under a 2-year contract. That's it. You don't get a pension. You don't get to keep your billions after you get out. No, that's not what this country is designed after. Congress was not meant to be yep, I've been a senator for 20 years. Yeah, good for you. Get the hell out. Time to clean up the White House. Time to clean up all of our politicians. Fire them. That's where
I mean, it used to be considered. I'm trying to remember somebody, and I'm thinking it might have been George Washington had to, because it was to become, to hold public office at one time was actually considered a somewhat onerous task. I think Washington had to borrow money from Jefferson in order to move his family to Philadelphia. I remember reading something about that. One of the presidents was actually, oh God, I don't want to do this. I'm broke. I can't, it wasn't a way to get rich. It was, as soon as they got whoever figured out that they could get a law through that you could vote yourself a raise, that was pretty much the end of it right there.
Yeah.
Because I know if I could vote myself a raise, I'd be driving a Bentley right now.
Yeah, more like, hey, Joe, I need a new boat. Let's get a raise.
No, I think term limits. Exactly. Term limits, I do believe I've heard the arguments against term limits, and I don't buy them. And one of the problems you have in D.C. in our government is not so much the elected officials, it's the bureaucrats who run the show behind. The saying is presidents and politicians come and go, but the bureaucracy is forever. We've got to set some kind of limits on these bureaucracies and these bureaucrats that get in there and spend 40 years over budgeting their department because they don't want to lose their funding, and just there's so much corruption within the bureaucracies themselves that just doing term limits in Congress wouldn't show that much improvement. You've got to start getting after like the Social Security, the IRS, some of these bureaus that have been around since 3 days after the Constitution was signed. There needs to be reform there too, or an entirely new form of oversight.
Right. But yeah, and as far as voting themselves a raise, that should be put up to the people's vote. Should not be up to Congress to give themselves a damn raise. If that was the case, hey, I want a VA raise.
No.
Okay, I say all the veterans stand up and say we want a raise. It wouldn't work. If VA laughed, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, right."
And if anybody deserves it, it's them. Yeah.
Right. But no, there's yeah. Let me get to my notes real quick. So we're not going to talk about Baraka.
I mean, our military's getting screwed left and right. Baraka?
Yeah. Jill Stein's.
Yeah, I ain't real wild about him.
He was born and grew up, and like I said, in the south side of Chicago. Served in the U.S. military. Hoo-ah. Moved to the southern United States, where he became involved in anti-segregation activism. So you're talking about somewhat of a radical. His noted importance was he was a follower, and it's really interesting because I'm taking sociology right now, and they mentioned that he was a follower of Du Bois, who I just had a test on Du Bois in the formation of his Black internationalist worldview.
Yeah.
And he attended graduate school at Clark Atlanta University, where Du Bois had taught. Now, Brock also became involved in the Central American Solidarity Movement, organizing delegations to Nicaragua in support of the Nicaraguan Revolution. He then became an Amnesty International volunteer and moved to the board of the organization. Then, from 2004 to 2011, he served as the founding executive director of the U.S. Human Rights Network, a national network that grew to over 300 U.S.-based organizations and 1,500 individual members. Now he's currently an associate fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies in D.C. He served on the boards of several human rights organizations, including Amnesty International, the Center for Constitutional Rights, and African Nation. In 2008, he worked with the U.S. Human Rights Network and over 400 organizations to develop a CERD shadow report, which concerned U.S. compliance with the terms of the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. I can get on board with this guy to an extent. I do sense a little bit of radicalism, though. Potential for, anyway.
Yeah. Anybody who considers Barack Obama an Uncle Tom president has got to be a little bit of a radical. I mean, he's directly quoted as calling Barack Obama the Uncle Tom president. So, yeah, he's got a radical bent to him.
Yeah, he does. And you know,
I think
I have like
time we get away from. I think it's time to get away from the people that are trying to divide us as a people, and try to find somebody out there who more of a Martin Luther King or somebody who's going to acknowledge that there are differences between us and not concentrate and try to bring those to the forefront, but to find many of these politicians now are so divisive. It's an us against them mentality, and they're bringing up all the differences between us. Now, I'll admit I'm somewhat of a bigot. I mean, I've got a knee-jerk reaction to certain people and certain things, but I will also say that once I get to know somebody on a personal level, there's a difference.
right.
And I'm not so much a racist because I hate everybody. I'm an equal opportunity misanthrope. I mean, I'm more of the kind of person I don't like people at large, but I love individuals. With that, I know that's somewhat of a dichotomy, but that's probably I got that from my father. But he's very rigid about, if you're a certain race, you're not going to be his friend. He's going to be your friend. He'll tolerate you. Where I've moved past that, it's like I don't care so much about what color somebody is. I'm more worried about what they are as a person. But I tend to put everybody at arm's length until I know better.
Right. Let's talk about Gary Johnson. He's the Libertarian Party. He was born in January of '53, an American businessman, an author, a politician, and the Libertarian Party nominee for president. He served as the 29th governor of New Mexico from 95 to 2003 as a member of the Republican Party. A Republican that left the party and switched Libertarian. Imagine that.
Yeah. Means he's got a conscience.
Huh? He believes strongly
It means he's
that
got
we
a
have a
conscience.
solemn obligation to honor those who have fought for us, sacrificed for us, and put their lives on the line to defend for our great nation. When it comes to fulfilling that obligation, there can be no equivocation. So by 2017, the national debt will be at $20 trillion. And in his words, that's not just obscene, it's unsustainable and arguably the single greatest threat to our national security. Today's federal tax code, does all the wrong things. It penalizes productivity, savings, and investment while rewarding inefficiency and designating winners and losers according to political whim. That came straight from...
Amen.
Yeah, well, that came straight from Johnson. Now...
There's a lot about Johnson I like. I wish he had a more viable
solution.
I would like to see. I would like to see him get some traction. I would like to see. I mean, it's not going to happen this time, but I would like to see him become a major party or a viable candidate next election cycle.
Well,
because I'm somewhat of a libertarian myself, so
right. Now
there are a lot of what he says is going to resonate with me.
I've got his whole list on what he stands for. He says we need term limits to bring back democratic representation. We need to balance the advantages of institutions knowledge with the dangers of institutional representation. As governors, because both him and his running mate are governors, or were, yeah, still are. Both Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, his running mate, supported policies that incentivized job growth. In 2012, Governor Johnson was praised as having the best job creation record of all presidential candidates. And Weld transformed Massachusetts, he was the governor of Massachusetts, that's right, from having the highest to the lowest unemployment rate. Civil liberties, whether it's a Republican who wants the government to tell you who to love or the Democrat who wants the government to look through your cell phone, the threat to our civil liberties needs to be stopped by a renewed appreciation for what it means. Foreign policy, the objective of both our foreign policy and our military should be straightforward, to protect us from harm and to allow us to exercise our freedoms. Governor Gary Johnson will zealously defend the Constitution of the United States and all of its amendments, including religious freedom. The right to practice one's religion is a fundamental part of being an American and must be preserved. Gary Johnson believes strongly that we have a solemn obligation to honor those who have fought for us, sacrificed for us, and put their lives on the line to defend our great nation. So yeah, I already read the veteran. He's all for veterans' rights. Immigration. Having served as governor of a border state, Gary Johnson knows the complex issues associated with immigration reform firsthand. Solving immigration problems is not as easy as building a wall or simply offering amnesty.
Well, yeah. You know, 200 years ago, he would have been called a Whig, W-H-I-G.
Right.
Because what this is Whiggery at its finest, and you know, I kind of agreed with that political bent. I've always been
Now, his view on environment: the environment is a precious gift and must be protected. Governors Johnson and Weld believe strongly that the first responsibility of government is to protect citizens from those who would do them harm. Now, I haven't heard about him going to Standing Rock since that was one of our topics tonight. Did he? I don't know. I haven't looked that up. Coming from
I think they're avoiding it.
Probably because of where they're standing right now. But I could see him being one who would advocate stopping the pipeline.
The problem, we need to have energy independence in this country. This should have been tied over an oil barrel and buggered by an Arab has got to stop. We're getting involved with people that hate our guts. We're spending our own treasure and blood in a region of the world that we will never see eye to eye with these people. We are just diametrically opposed. You know, the best thing we can do is pull out, tell them to, you know, drink their own oil, you know, just cut them off from food, you know, the food we sell them, the foreign aid. You know, why are we giving oil-rich countries foreign aid? I mean, we should be billing them for, you know, we've got entire nations over there that we're sending powdered milk to that are, you know, by and large lactose intolerant after they get a certain age. There's not that many cultures that drink milk into adulthood. So they're taking this powdered milk we're sending over there. And if they don't throw it away, they dump it on the fields as a form of fertilizer.
Right.
And they, you know, the food gets sent and misallocated. I had a classmate in college who was a Nigerian, and he was talking about how poor the schools were, and that, you know, he was getting a local charity together to send books, textbooks, and, you know, scientific books and, you know, nonfiction, you know, educational material to Nigeria. The only way he could get it where it needed to go, he had to send it to his uncle, who was a military governor. Because he said, if we address this to my Uncle Andrew, nobody will mess with it. Because, we're talking a culture where a military governor can blow your ass away and not even worry about answering for it. And that's just, and that's one of the more civilized countries. There's places that foreign aid is going into the pockets of the corrupt and is never seeing the people it's supposed to help. We need to cut that crap out.
Well, and talking about Clinton,
We got enough people in this country that need.
I also heard Clinton received $1 million gift from Qatar for her birthday. I mean, can you imagine can you imagine yourself receiving $1 million from anyone for your birthday? We're, you want to talk about someone that's paid off? That tells you right there, and I mean, everybody knows it anyway. But I'm curious because I keep hearing all these rumors, and they're all allegations. I got to keep saying that. And folks, as I say on every show, don't go by our word. Do your own research. You'll find the same sources we find when we do this show, and probably then some. And if you can prove us wrong, by all means, I'm not ashamed by any means. If you can find more information than what we can find in our little researches we do, then by all means. But getting back to Trump's running mate, I can remember Pence. There you go. 4 more key points that really pissed me off. One, I despise organized religion. I don't give a damn what your belief or your faith is. That's your faith. By all means, hang on to it. But organized religion, I do not like. That's nothing more than mind control and fear-mongering. We actually had a church here in my county. They had a 2-day seminar on Christianity versus ISIS. Are you serious? Christianity versus ISIS. If you can't tell me that's not politics, really? I didn't think churches were supposed to get involved with politics. I say take all their tax exemption statuses away. That's just me. Here you go. Pence.
Well, that's one of those, we're going to have to look at what division of church and states means because. Go ahead.
No, I just have 4 points from Pence. He opposes legally requiring the hiring of women and minorities. He opposes expanding Obamacare. Okay, I'm on the line with Obamacare anyway, so that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is he opposes abortion as a woman's unrestricted right. Some people believe it's murder. Personally, I believe if a woman is raped or has a medical issue, she should have the right to an abortion. Who is anybody to say otherwise? Just because your belief says it's murder?
I think it ought to be out there.
Huh?
I agree. I think it's one of those personal choices. I don't think it should be used as a casual form of birth control.
Right.
And exactly. A lot of people use it as such. But I think it ought to be available, and it ought to be available through legitimate, safe, because that's trying to make a law out of morality.
Exactly.
And I think that's a personal choice. It's your own soul. If you can do that and feel good with it, hey, more power to you. It shouldn't be restricted. It's a matter of choice. And I will say this, I do not agree with abortion. I think it's barbaric, and I think it's horrible. And I think if anybody who has one really looks into what's going on, if they have any soul at all, they will have separate second thoughts. But it still needs to be out there. It still needs to be a choice for somebody to make.
Exactly. And that's my point. Who is any man to tell a woman whether she can or cannot have one? That's the issue at hand. As far as the morality of it, no, I agree. It should not be used as birth control, and some women do. Other women, though, that's 9 months of hell. It really is. And if they were raped or in that kind of a case, you're torturing the woman along with it. His last point, though,
Right.
he opposes same-sex marriage. Who the hell, you know what? And again, that goes with, if it's a moral issue, it should not be a presidential issue. That's just the bottom line. I have plenty of LGBT community friends. And I think allowing them to have same-sex marriage was the best thing they could have done. Allowing gays to come out and say they were gay in the military, again, was the best thing they could have done. I knew gays in the military when I was serving. I had no problem with them whatsoever. They did their thing, I did my thing, all was good. And really, does it really bother you that a man's gay?
One of my best friends was gay.
Here's my thing. But if they find out a woman's a lesbian, oh my God, that's so hot. Are you serious? But if you find out a man's gay, you got an issue with it.
Yeah.
Is he really hitting on you? Didn't think so. Because usually most of the gay men I know have their taste, just like men have taste in women. And if they know you're not gay, they ain't going to hit on you, believe me. So, it shouldn't be a damn issue. And the stupid bitch in Kentucky that went to jail because she couldn't do her job because it went against God's will, then you know what? Let somebody else do it.
Oh, that county clerk? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
She wouldn't sign the... And I think that's what they did. They just had... I think they just had somebody come in and do her job for her while she was in jail. So, I mean...
It shouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah, it just...
She's the one who made it a public issue. There should never have been an issue with that.
Right. Kim Davis.
Yeah, there you go.
Her name was Kim Davis.
I mean, really, religion causes more wars. Religion causes more social issues. And come on now. If it doesn't hurt you, if it doesn't affect the safety of your family, then what the hell's the problem? But too many people have a problem with...
Yeah, when's the last time an army of pagans have stormed into the Middle East to have a crusade?
Never.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Well, okay. If you want to go so far as the Vikings, technically the Vikings were pagan. But, yeah, no.
Yeah, but they converted to Christianity pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they didn't push their religion on any other people.
No.
Yeah, they converted, but they didn't. They didn't push. They didn't care if you were in their clique or not.
No, and honestly, as a pagan, it goes against our belief to proselytize. If you're not pagan, I don't want you to be pagan. Honestly. We do our thing, you do your thing. The minute you start pushing your views on me, that's when I have an issue. I got accused of, the other night, you were there, of belittling other faiths. Actually, no, I don't belittle other faiths until your faith gets pushed on me. That's when I have an issue. And, yeah. I had more issues. I
don't know. I find paganism. I I find the different. I love to compare religions. I love to see where Christianity, a lot of Christianity's stories and roots date back to, not Ishtar, but there was
ISIS?
the one, God, no, the one before, it was a bull. It was like a demigod who killed a bull, Mithras. So much
Yeah,
of the Christianity is based on Mithraism, and the Mithras was the Mithraism was actually a very popular religion at the time, and it's probably what helped Christianity move forward as it did, because a lot of the backstory was the same, the virgin birth and all the sacrifice and all that. It was already there.
Well, and that's what kills me, and I've said it on other shows. I got treated better as a pagan by Muslims in Iraq than I did by our own military. Our own Christians in the military at that. There was a case where they were throwing rocks at a Wiccan soldier who was practicing his faith, not harming anybody. He was just doing his own little ritual. And Christian soldiers started throwing rocks at him. He had to go to the hospital. And I know I've told the story about the soldier that died in Baghdad because the chaplain stepped over him because he was pagan. The soldier died by himself. And really, we've gone to that.
Well, and that shows that the Christian chaplain was a piece of shit, because in his own faith, you minister to all. To be kind to your enemies. There's a passage, a Christian tenet that to be kind, supposedly attributed to Jesus, is be kind to your enemies, for surely you are heaping coals upon their heads in hell. Well, so you're not supposed to, you shouldn't be passing over somebody just because they don't have the same. And historically, Muslims were, until this recent spate of radical Islam that really holds no resemblance to real Islam, the Muslims were always a tolerant people. I mean, the Christians and the Jews who were within the confines of Saladin's rule were treated very well. The idea was, okay, we're Muslims, you're Christians, you're Jews, that's fine. Mm-hmm. We won't try to convert you. You don't try to convert us, and do your thing. And there's Saladin is considered the villain of the Crusades, and it was really more Richard the Lionheart was more of a villain than Saladin ever thought of being. So there's a historical double standard that is very pro-Christian, when the truth is they have a lot to answer for.
Yeah, indeed. And
this coming from a baptized Catholic.
Well, you look at the teachings of Jesus, most Christians don't follow it anyway.
No.
And what was I going to say? I was going somewhere with this. Yeah, you look at most militias today. Most militias today are the radical Muslims you see in the Middle East. There's no difference. They will shoot. The big symbols of today's militia is a Bible, the Confederate flag, which I have no idea where that came from, because most of them aren't in the South anyway, and a gun. That's your militia. Go look at their websites. Go look at their Facebook groups. That's their big ideology. They are no different.
Well, the militia was supposed to be a well-maintained It wasn't supposed to be a drinking club for rednecks with AR-15s. It was supposed to be, it was supposed to be kind of like the National Guard, where you actually had training. You weren't just a radical, Bible thumping bigot. You were part of a paramilitary organization that would step in when called upon.
Well,
The original Continental Army was.
No, if you look at history, I believe the National Guard was originally supposed to be the well-armed militia.
I think so.
And then it became today's disaster. I mean, they do deploy. I've worked with plenty of National Guard troops when we were in Iraq. They actually got deployed almost as much as we did in the active army, and that's not the way it was supposed to be. National Guard and Reserve,
which I don't understand. Exactly.
They're
exactly.
supposed to be.
National Guard to me means you stay at home and protect the homeland.
Exactly. The active duty military was supposed to deploy and take care of the foreign side. National Guard and Reserve were supposed to stay home. When we deployed, that's when they were supposed to get activated to protect the home front while we were gone. It didn't work that way, and I can tell you many stories.
Exactly. Somebody to guard the back door.
Right. And it really appalled and pissed me off when I was in the Warrior Transition Battalion and was walking around the base and seeing all these senior NCOs and officers. And the first thing many of us do is look at the right side, because that's where the combat patch is. And you look at half of them, and there is nothing on the right side, which means they've never deployed. And so why is my battalion going over for a second, a third, a fourth tour when half these other guys have never deployed before? And, I mean, I even knew soldiers that already they've been diagnosed PTSD, but their unit said, well, we're taking you anyway. And they took him for another 2 or 3 tours after he's already got PTSD. PTSD, you get deployed with PTSD, which I was, but you're already seen as a liability. That's why I got sent to the Warrior Transition Battalion, because my commander was like, no, you've already done 4 combat tours. You're not doing any more. You're going to go sit out in the WTB until you retire. And, well, that didn't work. Because instead of retiring, they decided, we're going to med board you. And so I got med boarded, and the Army tried to screw me out of retirement at that. How you doing, John? Good to see you in the chat room.
Hey, JC. Yeah, my oldest, one of my kids in the service is almost within her, she's coming to the end of her 20 years. And basically she's going to get screwed out of she's going to get screwed instead of putting her in such a situation that she can gracefully take the last 3 years that she's got coming and get her, the pension and the benefits that she's worked for. She's probably going to get medically discharged because they've ruined her knees, they've ruined her health, and now that they're done with her, they're kicking her to the curb. Like my wife says, she's been deployed 5 times that we know of.
Right.
She's had mortars pass through her tent. Yeah, she's had mortar rockets pass through her tent in Iraq.
Uh-huh.
Something happened in Syria, I believe, and she won't talk about that. And I don't press it because I don't want to, make PTSD any worse than it already is. But as far as I'm concerned, if you made it that far, the military should have a desk job or you get that far, you should get that last 3 years. They owe that to you.
And they can. They actually can, because I know other soldiers. And, it irritates me because they gave me the option. And at that point in time, I've already got 19 years in. But they gave me this option. we can go ahead and clear your record and make you healthy again on paper and put you back in a unit. And you can write out your last year. And, you know, you read between the lines and go, yeah, bullshit. I'm going to sit there for my last year and they're going to deploy. And here I go again. And I'm going to be in past 20 years on another combat mission. I ain't doing it. So I took what they gave me. They medically retired me. And if she's sitting at 17 years, they will medically retire her if she goes for the med board. And she will maintain her, I mean, she won't get her pension.
Yeah, I think she's resigned to that, but
she won't get her pension.
But I just think that's wrong.
Yeah, and I agree. But they will medically retire her. She will maintain her ID card for life, and she'll be eligible for TRICARE. She'll be eligible for, you know, all the benefits of retirement, minus the pension, which that's what I took, minus the pension. But she goes to the VA with the issues you say she's got. She's going to get probably 100% like I get, and she will be taken care of that way. No, I don't agree with the way the system goes, and I don't agree with the way the military goes, because they tried to give me 20% and have a nice life, and I appealed and said, to hell with you. I've done 18, 19 years now. I've done 4 combat tours. You're not giving me 20% and a pat on the back. Screw you. And I called my senator. Actually, I emailed my senator, and she called me the next day. And when it was all said and done, Madigan, after I had gotten out, had a full open investigation done on them for the way they treated PTSD. So I got screwed, yeah, but at least I got other soldiers hopefully taken care of by calling the senator. And yeah, if they can get away with screwing you out of a pension, they will. Matter of fact, 2 or 3 years ago, it used to be if you retired at 20, you could draw your 20-year pension and your VA pension. And I mean, if that was the case, I'd be getting an additional $1,300 a month from the Army pension, which that would be nice. But do I need it? Not really. They take care of you at 100%. I'll say that much. But yeah, bad knees and bad backs, it's common. And I'm not sure. I think I told you about the mortar that I didn't see the mortar, but I felt the blast. It popped my ears. There was no blood or nothing, but it gave me vertigo for a long ass time. But if she ever needs to talk, you've got my number. And if she doesn't talk to you, maybe she'll talk to another PTSD vet. You never know if she needs to talk.
Yes. There's just some things I don't think she's ready to talk about, and she's in intel, so there's a lot of stuff she probably feels like if she did talk about it, they'd use that as an excuse to rip her clearance away. And my God, my girl's if she gets out, she's gonna get out on her own terms. It's not gonna be, she'll fight for it, and if they finally do get her out, she's not going to get the shit end of the stick. If she does, they will have fought to give her. They'll know they were in a fight because she's not going to give up easy. But I think she's at the point where now she's so disgusted that, I think she's so disgusted with the way things are going that she's reconciled, but I think it's crap.
Well,
I mean, I had NCOs when I was in the Navy. They were so freaking useless. They couldn't pour piss out of a boot if they turned it upside down and read directions printed on the sole.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they were accommodated because, okay, he's only got he's only got 3 years. We'll put him where he can't do any damage, that kind of crap. And there's my daughter who's gone, who has several awards and ran one of the best intel units in the entire Air Force. And that's just not a dad bragging. That's the, that's the Department of the Air Force bragging on her.
Right.
and now they're getting ready to kick her to the curb. It's just wrong.
Yeah, and it's funny because John comments about the first Gulf War. When I was cavalry in Bad Hersfeld, Germany, and I was an E4, I was a specialist, and I used to drink with E7s and E8s, and we're talking back in '91, and or 91, 92 time frame, because we got sent. They signed the ceasefire for Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. They signed the ceasefire, and we were flying over a week later. We were put in place to make sure Saddam didn't come back. Now, we got back. I was drinking with E7s and E8s, and they had 18, 19 years in. They were fed up with the Army back then. Now, back then was Bush's drawdown. I knew E4 tankers that were offered 60,000 to get out of the Army. I was like, are you serious? I'm only a private. I was only a private back then, but I had E4 buddies that were taking 60 grand to get the hell out of the Army. It's like, damn it. And yeah, Landstuhl, I remember Landstuhl is a very, very long hospital. It was all flat. Very spread out, huge. I went to I went there a couple different times. Great hospital though. But yeah, you look at the military today, and you have to ask yourself, where are they going to go? I have to make a couple phone calls, but last word I got, we were going back to Iraq to take Mosul away from ISIS. Mosul never should have been given to ISIS. For one, we trained them, but we never gave them weapons. So now you've got a terrorist organization that's got 50 cals, that's got, AK-47s, your normal shit, plus 50 cals and heavy weapons. And Iraq is supposed to fight them with what? Because we wouldn't give them weapons? For one, and I'll say it, I always say this, the only reason we went there was so Bush could make billions. That's the only reason we were there. We weren't there to liberate anybody. Because if Saddam was still in power, who are we to take it away? He was a dictator. But Iraq was protected. Iraq was stable.
He had to have wondered. He had to have wondered what the hell happened. That
Right?
man had to think, well, what in WTF? I mean,
Yeah.
he was our boy. We, as long as he was willing to fight Iran,
Yeah.
I guess his mistake was the Kuwaitis had more oil money than he did, and when he went in there, that sort of tipped the apple cart. But still, right up to the day his neck snapped, he had to think this is just a bad dream, because we had backed him for so many years. He was our puppet.
Yep.
He was there because we wanted him there, just like Assad is Russia's for puppet of choice in Syria.
Mm-hmm. It kills me in this country.
Well, I just find it bad news.
And for our listeners, if you want to hear about the Illuminati and the founding of this country, the Masons, go to our archives. All the archives are right here in our S4 page, S4 studio right here. But we've discussed all this in depth. And this country was founded on corruption. And why change now? I mean, we put the Shah of Iran, exactly. And here's what's funny too, John. They were all trained right here at Fort Benning, Georgia, at the School of America. It's not a conspiracy. I've seen it. It's a real school. They get protested once a month, twice a month, whatever. But it's a real school where Saddam went. and the Shah of Iran went, and Bin Laden went, and we train terrorists. We train our enemy, and then we go take them out. It's kind of like I don't know, training a dog how to coon hunt. I don't know. That's the only analogy I can think of. But he's like, yeah, we have to, make toys for us to play with or something, and then send them back to their country. And when we get bored, we go off and take them out. And really, that's what this country's about. And now we are 2 days away.
From it getting worse.
Yep. And our house is stocked up.
Well, let's not forget that what we call the Taliban now was the Mujahideen that we were when the Taliban was called the Mujahideen, we were giving them arms and being using them as a proxy army against Russia. Now they finally they got the Russians out and they decided they wanted to rule things their way. Well, you can't have that. And now they're called the Taliban, and they're evil.
You just brought back a memory about the Hadim. If I remember right, they wore orange jumpsuits, or orange. Their color was orange. I remember that much. And we were on tower guard. Tower 33 in Balad was my unit's tower, and we went to our briefing, and we were told to watch for orange jumpsuits or orange. I can't remember what the Muslims call them, but and Robert Rose, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure you know. But they're the robes that they wear. I can't remember what they call them, but the Hadim were orange, and so we were supposed to watch for anything unusual, anything of color. Now, Tower 33 overlooks a farmer's field, and you see a little village across from this field, and it's kind of cool because you think about Iraq, you think about Muslims, and you think, oh, they're just stupid people. No, they're not. They're actually quite intelligent. In fact, you see some of the irrigation ditches here in America that you saw over there all the time. They've been doing the way they live. They've lived for thousands of years and done just fine. And their irrigation systems, for example, were ditches across a field that were dammed up, and then there would be an empty ditch, and they would release the dam. And I mean, they controlled the irrigation of their whole fields, for example. But anyway, so we're sitting there in Tower 33, and I see this little pickup coming down the road. Hey, Steve, good to see you here tonight. Yeah, you have to go back and listen to the beginning when we go off on everything. And one of my soldiers is going, Sergeant Cooper. They've got orange on, and well, we're watching these guys, and what looks like a weapon. Well, it turns out in the end, I guess they were bored with wearing white, so they wore orange that day. It wasn't the Hadim at all, and what looked like weapons was actually shovels. And
oh my God!
Yeah, and our rules of engagement were so out of whack. So we had a soldier that was watching her tower, and the Iraqis come over and they climb over the fence, and she says, base, this is Tower 33. I've got Iraqis coming over the fence, and they said, well, just keep observing. Like, really? And they picked up the porta-john and they ran towards the fence. And she said, base, this is Tower 33. The Iraqis are on our base and they have the porta-john. And they said, well, Tower 33, just keep observing. And she's like, okay. And they take this porta-john and they lift the porta-john up and over the base fence, and she's like, well, base, this is Tower 33. The Iraqis have now got the porta-john over the fence and are running across the field. And they said, well, just keep observing. And, well, we lost a porta-john that day. Oh, my God. And a little village across the field from us had their very own community porta-john. But
which was probably a luxury. You know, it was probably a real luxury.
It was, other than they didn't have a pump truck to come and dump it out like we did, as far as we know. But, you know, it goes to show you rules of engagement and priorities. I mean, should we have shot them for trying to take our porta-john? No, probably not. But it should have shown these guys there was a risk in that, yeah, the Iraqis could come into our base when they want to. And that was kind of the point. But they didn't really seem to give a damn. And, I mean, every once in a while we did have a sniper that sat in our tower because our tower was a 30-foot tower. It was quite tall. And so we'd be up at the top of the tower, night vision goggles, the whole 9 yards. We actually had meter rangefinders. So if we had to, call in mortar incoming and whatnot, we could give them a range. I actually witnessed from that tower a daisy chain explosion. That still sticks in my mind because I actually watched one of our convoys blow up about 200 feet in front of us. So, yeah.
Damn.
Those were Iraq days. Not near as bad as well, the other one. That we won't mention that name. But anyway, brings me to Trump. Trump is the one who tried to say that he served in the military.
You saved the best for last.
I'm not even gonna go into the bullshit about him. I'm just gonna go by the things that I know I've heard him say. And I'm sorry, but just because you were in ROTC in high school does not mean you served in the military, and you cannot relate to anybody in the military because you were in ROTC or watched ROTC in high school. No, I'm sorry, you didn't serve. You have no idea what goes into the military. You should not be president because I cannot even imagine you trying to be a commander-in-chief. On that regard, I would trust Hillary commanding the military over Trump any day of the week. Could Jill Stein do it? I don't know. We don't have a whole lot of options here, folks. Good luck Tuesday night. That's all I'm going to say about that because we're not going to see any major changes until at least March because Obama's not going to relinquish authority until the State of the Union address in January. So you're pretty well safe through the holidays. Enjoy them while you can. The only thing I can think of is, if there's rioting, if there's shooting, and there's a very good chance there is, whether it's Hillary supporters shooting up Trump supporters or vice versa, or depending on who wins. Tuesday night's going to be interesting, to say the least, just based on that. So I'm staying home. I ain't going nowhere.
I'll be at work too. I got to be at work, and I'm hoping that it passes peacefully.
Right? You're going to see the brunt of it in the hospital.
I may be busy.
Yeah, John, they stole the porta-john. Can you imagine?
Well,
that?
I think Winston-Salem. I think we're kind of safe here. I don't think that there's that many radical people here, but it's mostly a bunch of snotty, uptight Moravians running the show here. So, You know, I don't think we're going to have too much trouble, but you never know.
No, it's all up in the air. It really is. Who's to say? And I don't have news. I'll be watching Facebook feeds because we got rid of our TV a long time ago, about a year now. Because I don't know. I turn the TV on, I just get pissed off, and it ain't worth it. And I don't get near as pissed off reading Facebook news feeds as I did watching the news. And if I really want to watch, what's going on live, there's enough of you out there that throw up Facebook live feeds, that and YouTube.
All right.
So let's see. Stay tuned for Spaced Out Radio weekend tonight. And if you haven't found Spaced Out Radio yet, oh my God, you're missing out. www.spacedoutradio.com. And Dave Scott's awesome. They're on every night from 9 p.m. to midnight Pacific Standard Time. Let's see. Friday we're doing our paranormal discussion at the Lone Star Restaurant if you're listening locally. And I'm going to close it out with this. If any of our listeners know about any alien abduction support groups, please send them to me because I need abduction support groups ASAP. Because there's a lot going on. I don't know what's going on, but abduction and UFO sightings are on the rise. Is it because of Hillary and her disclosure? I have no idea. But something's going on because the paranormal in general seems to be on the rise. Halloween's over, folks. It's not because of some damn curtain or some, it's not because of that. Something's shifting, something's happening, and the paranormal seems to be on the rise. Next
Do you
Sunday
think there
night,
might be a soft disclosure program coming out? Because if you look at the recent lineup of shows, you've got People of Earth, which I have to admit I only watched to see how they were dealing with the subject, and I have to admit that there's some information in there that's kind of legit. They're dealing with it in a lot better way than I would have thought. Yes, there's the ha-ha factor, but I'm almost thinking they're just getting people,
ready?
I think they're getting people primed. Yeah, I think they're trying to get the paradigm shift in the direction that we aren't alone.
Right. Now, on that note, too.
Is that Dave out in our chat room?
Yeah, I see that. He's holding on. Definitely not onto my beard,
okay.
but the beard is still here. And I have a local case that is, I'm waiting on witnesses to step out. I've actually heard two different reports. One happened a year ago and had to do with multicolored lights that were like a lightning blast. That happened a year ago. And something happened in October with multiple witnesses of a potential UFO landing site. Now, Dave, since you're listening, that was across the field from okay, Dave's not listening. But yeah, it was across the field from
no, that's Elizabeth.
Yeah, from my highway. And I have a team already to go with radiation equipment and EMF meters and whatnot. EMF meters will work on a UFO landing case, but you want radiation detectors, and I've got that. I've got radiation detectors already, ready to go. Once we start getting reports together on that, now I'll be updating in Forest Moon Paranormal about that and when I need people to show up. So, John, what's your strange story? Can you see it, Markham?
I'm looking. I think, well, he's posted a link to Facebook, and I can't go there from this computer. I'm on a workstation, and they have, they used, let me see, maybe. Nope.
I'll look
I
at it
can't
later,
go there.
John.
Yeah, they got firewall block.
Okay, I can't click on it because when I have the studio up and running, I can't. Unlike Dave, when Dave runs Spaced Out Radio, he's got multiple computers up and running. I've only got my laptop in the studio, and yeah, studio doesn't like it when you run other programs at the same time. I'll look at it later.
No, Spreaker's kind of Spreaker's easy to piss off.
Yeah, Spreaker gets jealous when you have anything else running. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, as far as the unease, yeah, I think everybody feels it. You know, I went to Walmart yesterday, and for it being a Saturday, and it was the 5th of the month, I expect a full store on the 1st. You know, everyone's stocking up, but it was the 5th. And even the clerk at Walmart was like, you know, I don't know what's going on because I told her I've never seen it this packed in a very long time. So either a lot of people, and we're not just talking one or two items, we're talking people with full carts, like they're stocking up. And I mean, if they're like me, yeah, I get ready, and especially for Tuesday night, I'm not going nowhere. I'm dropping my ballot off in a ballot box, and I'm coming home.
Yeah, my middle child is coming home tomorrow night. Well, actually, in 10 minutes it'll be tomorrow today. But my youngest is coming all the way from Durham, which is a substantial distance. You know, it's not an around the block trip for her because she's registered here. She's making the trip all the way from Durham to make sure that she gets to vote, which I'm proud of her for that.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
indeed. Well, that about wraps it up for tonight. Next week is going to be our Veterans Day episode. We might have some surprise guests in for the show. Are you bringing one of your buddies in, Markham?
well, I was hoping to, but I haven't been able to get a hold of him reliably, so I'm going to try. And now I've got too many links going on my damn computer. There we go. But yeah, yeah, I'm gonna. I hope to. If not, well, I'll listen to the rest. I'll listen to you guys. You know, I just wanted to contrast what it was like. You guys were in during wartime. My friend and I were in when it wasn't. But they kind of ran it like it was. You know, they kept the stress up on us. We were on an aircraft carrier. So I mean, we stayed out to sea most of the time, and it was a matter of running air ops all the time. So, people think peacetime Navy is a piece of cake. It really isn't if you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, we'll have our Veterans Day show next week, and then we'll get right back into UFO alien topics. And hell, we might even talk about some UFO alien topics next week as well. We'll see what happens, because we're S4OD square. We talk about whatever the hell's on our mind. Anyway, y'all have a good night. Safe week.
Might just have our own round table.
There you go. Yeah, I hear the music.
Yep.